Hi, this is Joris Peels, and this is another episode of Unpeeling the 3D Printing News with 3dprint.com. So, if you haven't been with us before, this is a hopefully succinct, hopefully very, very to the point, but insightful nonetheless, session of a live cast where we're going to analyze the top 3D printing stories of the day. And what we hope to do is to give you insightful information, give you new trends, new things that are happening, maybe some unknown stuff that you maybe could think about that you're not adequately considering so far. So hopefully we'll really really kind of like help you out today. And we have four stories for you today on the 7th, on the Monday, 8th of August. So these stories are number 4, Elastic Interface and Endura 3D printed cycling pad. So this is actually a story that I saw in like a news roundup at 3D printing industry, and I checked, and it was released like 24 days ago on cycling news, a cycling related website. So super old news, but I had completely missed it. So I bring it to you just in case you missed it as well. um, so what is a cycling pad? They're also called chamois or chamois pads. It's essentially it's in endurance cycling or long distance cycling, like the Tour de France type of cycling. They have either bib shorts or just shorts, and inside the shorts on the groin area, they have kind of a foam pad, and that's supposed to make you more comfortable. It's supposed to make you chafe less, especially if you're going to be riding like 200 kilometers or something like that. And what they've now done is they've 3D printed the inside of this bib, which usually it's like a foam material, but now they've 3D printed it. And this has not just happened with one company, Elastic Interface, which is the largest company in this area, and Endura have done it. So both two competitors are doing it at roughly the same time. The NX3 is the Elastic Interface pad. They say it's more breathable, more resistant to moisture, more durable, and they can control the density at a given location. So I think in the future that'd be really exciting because then we could adapt these pads depending on how somebody sits on the bike. Maybe if somebody's driving riding a Tour de France, right? You can get different pads during the day to make you more comfortable. Maybe kind of focus on a different part of your body, right? For different riding, like a stage in the Giro where you're going to be leaning forward most of the time, or we're going to mountains. Maybe you want a different pad. So I think that gives a lot of options for the future, the individual rider or the race. Even we could customize it to. So to me, that's very exciting. Um, and I like that two people are doing it at the same time. That must mean it's a really good idea. So the second manufacturer, that's Endura, they have the Pro SL EGM Matrix bib shorts. So the first one, Elastic Interface, lets you sew it into lots of different products if you want. And the second one are coming out with the shorts with this product integrated in it. They have disclosed that they're working with this with carbon. And the other one, the Elastic Interface guys, I have not talked about who they're working with. So I love this because we're doing a 3D printed product inside textile. So that, of course, means that we can have different qualities and we can have different properties. And that to me is a very exciting prospect. And also, I've been talking about 3D printed sports equipment for a long time now. And this is also another way where we can get gloves for all sorts of sports, but we could also get some handles for all sorts of things customized. And I think this could make it really interesting. And I like the fact that it's encased in this case because of the functionality. It's encased in textile, which could make the 3D printed product do better. So I think that's interesting. Number 3 is 3D printed sodium electron ion batteries. This is research. This is also from 3dprint.com. This is from 3dprint.com. This is research from Tohoku University by Akira Kuda and a bunch of other people. And what they've done is, this is super innovative. I really like this a lot. And they've done 3D printed carbon micro lattice electrodes. This comes to us via the journal Small and 3dprint.com, of course. What they did is they used stereolithography to print a polymer microlattice structure, right? And then they used pyrolysis to make it smaller and essentially carbonize it, right? And this meant that they had hard carbon anodes that were really high performing in the type of battery they were making. And they think that with the lattice structure of these anodes is very high performance, but they think as well if they get a more detailed 3D printer, they could even make finer and better lattices, and potentially it would be possible to create sodium ion batteries with performance greater than lithium ion, which of course that would be quite big news if that was actually true. So the two reasons I think this is really important. The first reason is, how many other things can we carbonize, right? Does this work for a lot of other kind of components that we can make? Like, is this something we should be thinking more about, like carbonizing or using pyrolysis to change the properties of these structures? Does that mean that we could have lots of electronic applications that we could be working in? That, I think, that just surprises me, and I think that could be incredibly exciting. Second thing is, yeah, we could have a huge impact on batteries, and that could mean that application would be many times bigger than our industry now. This is in the research stages, is yet to be validated and is yet to be scaled up and stuff. But I do think that it's very notable, this news, for being, first off, this new method of using 3D printed parts, and then secondly, the impact we could have on the battery industry generally is something maybe we should be looking at. There's a couple of companies working in 3D printing batteries. Some of them are, let's say, too optimistic by half of what they're doing. So it's a bit of a cowboy kind of part of the industry. But I still think that there could be a lot of impact there in optimizing batteries by just creating optimized structures. And this is a very elegant, very innovative way to do it. So congratulations to the team there, and Akira Kudo and the other researchers. The number two bit of news is researchers combine thin layer chromatography with image analysis to identify MPA. Now, the news in itself is not mega earth-shattering. Essentially, what they did is there's this thing called MPA, which is an injectable contraceptive, and there's a team from FHI 360 that used thin layer chromatography with image analysis to test these materials in the body. Right now, what they did is they used an iPhone camera, open source ImageJ software, and a 3D printed kind of essentially light box to put the camera on to make the experiment work. For that, they used to make that box, they used a Creality Creality 3 Pro and black PLA. That's it. So this research thing is interesting, but I think what is the most impactful thing about this is, and people have been working on this for a number of years. It's not the first story like this, but there have been many, and there are many researchers that are doing a lot of impact like this. But imagine just the power of this, in order to be able to then create this news, or this part, and then you could distribute it around the world very, very easily, right? You could put one guy in a low income country with a printer, and he could make hundreds of these things, right? At very low cost, completely bypassing the problems with importing things, and completely bypassing the problems with customs or shipping and all that kind of stuff, and making them locally, right? So this is fantastic. Imagine just more open source or open science that is being spread like this, and making these low cost devices for fighting diseases, for monitoring things, for testing. This is, I think, an area that is going to have a huge impact on the world if we do it right. And so far, it's kind of a detail. People look at this stuff and I'm like, yeah, it's okay. But I think the impact on many millions and hundreds of millions of people's lives, if you could make tests very widely available, for example, or if we could make certain using iPhones, and then just open source software and 3D printed parts, just making medical testing or medical experimentation more widely available. Also to advance science in a country. Imagine you're an underfunded university somewhere in a developing country. Now you can get tools that maybe aren't cutting edge, but they are allow you to do a lot of research that you wouldn't be able to do before. So I really, really think that's very that's a very, very impactful in the long run. Now, the number one immediately impactful news, I think, for right now, and this is going to surprise you if you don't know this, by the way, it's Stratasys buys Covestro's AM business. So Stratasys, the OEM, producer of 3D printers, and 3D printing service provider, has now brought Covestro's 3D printing business. Now, Covestro's 3D printing business was based on Clariant's 3D printing business and DSM's 3D printing business. So they kind of bought a Matryoshka doll of 3D printing businesses. This includes the DSM Somos brand. This includes a bunch of high performance, high temperature polyamide type materials, BPA type materials, This includes a lot of application development work that the DSM team guys did, and it includes a fair sizable chunk of the players in the 3D printing industry, right? So this is notable because, well, a couple of years ago, all the big materials companies piled in, all of them, and they were driving growth. They were driving how the materials are made, and BASF invested the most. I think BASF really went for it. I think in acquisitions and investing the most and having the most different propositions out there. Henkel also uh, has invested a lot to have a lot of products out there. Sabic really stayed to its core high temp business, and they did some large scale 3D printing stuff, but they seem to have been less involved lately. A lot of other companies like Dow and other companies have kind of withdrawn or have withdrawn in their interest levels, at least from the 3D printing industry. um, and so a couple of years ago, it looked like these giant materials companies were going to kind of like rule over our industry, and now it's changed. Now we have to reassess the landscape and say, wait a minute, these guys are pulling back. These big giant $1 billion companies or $20 billion companies, right? Covestro's like a $15 billion revenue company, are pulling back from 3D printing. We don't give them the volume they need. We don't give them the growth that they expected. So at the moment, what's happened is Covestro is selling it for 43 million euros, and there's a possible potential earnout for 37 million on top of that. That seems like, given the preeminence of the portfolio and the longevity of some of these products and the volume there, that it seems like a quite a good deal that they're getting here. But they didn't really disclose the multiple and a lot of really very detailed information, so we've yet to really know what they exactly bought. But it doesn't seem, it doesn't, at first glance, it doesn't seem like they're overpaid based on what we think they're doing. Covestro sold it. They're worried about energy prices. There's an article we published a couple of years ago about energy prices and their impact on the German polymer market and just the polymer production generally. Maybe it was just a detail, and they were never really very into 3D printing. Why did I think it's a good thing that Covestro sold this, because they didn't really seem to be paying a lot of attention, frankly. Is it good that Stratasys bought this? I think it's a good deal for Stratasys. It's a good deal for Stratasys shareholders. It's a good deal for resellers that now will be able to resell lots and lots of materials. So it's financially speaking, I think it seems like a good deal. They're also getting a lot of polymer expertise. They're taking over all the people in these facilities and these sites. So they're getting a lot of really polymer expertise. Now that should really help Stratasys in making propositions for customers, so they can make a specific printer with software and the materials to make a better dental printer, or a better printer for medical devices, or a better printer for end use parts in an automotive under the hood, whatever, right? So that combination of having Stratasys is particularly weak on software, right? But the fact that they have the machine knowledge, the application knowledge already, and now they have this polymer knowledge and the polymer part with it, should really, really help them. Especially like Stratasys is really focused on a segmentation strategy. I say in an article that they now have a 3D printer for left-handed people as well. They really try to segment. So in that segmentation strategy, this kind of material getting a higher price for a variant of a material, a higher price for a variant of a machine, seems to make sense as well. This will also, be an ongoing business that should give them quite a bit of revenue over in the long run. It should also help their service business. They can get better results on their polymers. They can develop better polymers in conjunction with the service business. Right? So they've got the application people, the sales guy talking to the customers, the polymer people, the guys in-house printing parts of Stratasys Direct, and they can all work together making better parts for everyone. So that's very positive. I think if they do that, if they do work together well, then I think that should be very valuable for everyone. It should also make, for wonderful margins, and it could make for a good, ongoing business. Now, of course, what people immediately said after this is that, that it doesn't really, it may make people worry a little bit, right? So if I want an independent vendor of materials, where am I going to get that from now? If I want redundancy in my supply chain, where am I going to get this from now? Right? There's a lot of materials that only these guys make, and maybe I want it to be redundant, and now I'm completely dependent on Stratasys for my machine and the material. If I'm going to do doing manufacturing, that's not a wonderful place to be. How am I going to look for an alternative? How am I going to find that second source? That could be problematic. Some other people just would like a better, more independent material supplier. And also, it's unclear what this means for other materials partners. For the last couple of years, and Stratus has been doing this kind of like open origin ecosystem. Everybody come and play. Now, what does it mean if Stratus is dependent on this material revenue? And to what extent is Stratus going to keep the most cutting edge materials for its own printers and for its own developments? And what extent is it going to give to the market? Will people mistrust them and then not want to work with these materials portfolio? If so, where do they have to turn? On the resin front, where the shortage is the most obvious because of this long-standing Sartomer business, or this long-standing Somos business, it's essentially we've got Henkel and Arkema now as the bigger players, and BASF to a certain extent as well. So that really reduces the offering. It really reduces the number of players. Is this going to be used to push material prices up? Is there going to be less competition? That, of course, would not be good for anyone, because 3D printing is it's not only the copier paper, it's the ink and the copier paper, right? So on a copier you can make the toner very, very expensive, right? And then still the print would be okay, right? Because the paper is very cheap. But we are both the toner and the paper. So if we make it prohibitively expensive, we're just going to reduce the number of applications. So that would be not good for us. All right. So there's a lot of things here where I'm thinking definitely good for Stratasys. Good for everyone else. We'll have to wait and see. And also, good for Covestro, I think, to offload this. So generally, a very interesting deal. I did not see this one coming. I thought it was very exciting. We also have to ask ourselves, why didn't BASF bid for this? This would be a very, I don't want to say incremental investment for them, but it would be a very logical investment for them. Did Arkema not like the recyclability of these materials or some of these materials? Why didn't Arkema bid on this? Are they also going a little bit less interested, getting a little bit less interested in 3D printing? Same thing with all the other materials companies, right? So, and also it's also a bit weird. Why didn't 3D Systems bet on this? Right? They're releasing. They did an acquisition today of DP Polar, whatever. There's a company that does kind of like a rotary kind of slave process. They did Camovius. They're moving. 3D Systems is moving very much more towards the medical front, pivoting towards medical. And does it not fit in their strategy? Does it not medical enough for them? Okay, that could be interesting, but it's it'd be interesting to see who passed on this and why. But generally, good for Stratasys, and for everyone else, we'll just have to wait and see what they have in store for us. So thank you so much for your time today. I hope that you found this interesting and you found this useful. And I'm going to post the links to the stories in the stream below, and then I urge you to come back another time. Thank you very much.